I'm a single mother to my son, Mark. He's 8 now. When this happened, he was 5, and I was 27. I live in a quiet part of town, in a house my grandparents passed down to me. It's a peaceful neighborhood filled with older people, and we still live there. It was Christmas time. After a day of shopping, clothes for family, a gift from the hardware store for my dad, the usual, I took Mark to McDonald's. We left the mall through the south exit and ran into a mall Santa standing by the entrance. He waved, knelt to Mark's level, and asked what Mark wanted for Christmas. Mark held my hand and told Santa he wanted a Nintendo Switch, which, as it happened, I was planning to buy him. The Santa laughed, winked at me, and said maybe if Mark was good, he'd get it. At first, he seemed harmless. He stood up and made a comment to Mark that felt awkward. "Your mother's a looker," and Mark laughed, even though he didn't understand. We chatted about holiday craziness and the stress of being a single mum. Then the Santa referenced the song, "I Saw Mommy Kissing Santa Claus." He leaned in toward me with his cheek out, as if to accept a peck. I leaned in to plant a quick, innocent kiss on his fake beard, and he suddenly turned his head and tried to kiss me on the lips. I pulled away. The way he moved felt aggressive and creepy, and there was nothing jolly about him. I said, "Come on, Mark," and we walked away. He shouted, "Merry Christmas," and that was the last I heard of him as we left by the back exit of the mall. At home, after putting everything inside, I locked the door and settled in to watch a Christmas movie with Mark. Then the doorbell rang. It was late, and we weren't expecting anyone. I told Mark to keep watching and called out, "Who is it?" A man's voice answered, "It's Santa." My heart dropped. I told him to go away and threatened to call the police. He said, "You dropped something out of your bag, miss. I'm just trying to return it." He asked me to open the door so he could hand it to me. I refused and phoned mall management. The person I spoke to said the mall didn't officially hire Santas. Whoever was dressed as one was doing it on their own. I felt unsafe. I went back to Mark and tried to keep things normal, but I couldn't shake the worry. A few minutes later, I went to the kitchen, raised the blinds, and listened. I couldn't see anything. It was pitch black outside with the kitchen light on. But I heard a man shouting, "Ho ho ho!" I called the police and told them a man dressed as Santa had been following me. Officers came, took a report, and left. A few nights later, the doorbell rang again, this time later than before. Mark was already asleep. I stayed upstairs and didn't go back down. The next day, I found a printed note taped to my front door. The note said, in essence, that he was sorry for scaring me, that he'd been working long shifts as Santa and hormones got the better of him, that he thought Mark and I were the cutest things ever, and that he wanted to be part of our family. He claimed to already know where we lived and asked for my number. It ended with "Happy Holidays," and his phone number signed "Best Ted." I took a picture of the note, called the police again, and handed it over. They took his number and told me someone would contact me. A detective called on Monday and said the man would not contact me again. I never heard from him afterward. I assumed the police warned or threatened him with arrest if he tried to contact us. This is one of my earliest, clearest memories. I grew up in a middle-class suburban home and loved Christmas. I must have been around 6 years old. We had just moved into a new house. On Christmas Eve, I stayed up playing video games on the old box TV. When I needed the bathroom, I snuck quietly down the hall so my parents wouldn't hear. As I came back, I heard the Christmas tree rustling downstairs. I tiptoed to the bottom of the stairs and peeked into the living room. It was dark, except for someone holding a flashlight. I could see only the person's legs behind the tree. A black bag lay on the floor. An adult man stepped out and put his finger to his lips, shushing me. "Yes, I'm Santa," he whispered. I knew in my bones that this was wrong. I screamed for my mom and dad. The man panicked, grabbed the bag, which turned out to be filled with what would have been our stolen presents and several ornaments, and ran out the front door. My dad ran outside in his slippers, furious, searching the neighborhood. A nearby house had also been broken into, and the news later confirmed it was the same person. I don't remember every detail after that, but the fear and the image of our ornaments being taken has stayed with me. In December 2020, my fiancé and I were settling into a house we'd bought together, a quiet, friendly neighborhood. Our neighbor Paul, a single man in his 40s, always seemed polite but kept to himself. I noticed one evening that Paul's Christmas lights were flickering in a strange, glitchy way. The next morning, his car was still in the driveway, and all his blinds were closed, which struck me as odd. That night, the lights were still acting up. I knocked on Paul's door to tell him about the flicker and to check if he was okay. He answered and said he'd been feeling under the weather. While we chatted, I thought I heard a child screaming from inside his house. Paul didn't have kids. I left and told my fiancé to call the police. I reported anonymously that I'd heard a child screaming from the neighbor's home. Police entered Paul's house, and what they found was horrifying. A young boy locked in the basement. He'd been kidnapped from another town and kept there for 4 days. The boy was a genius and had figured out a way to flicker the lights to try to get attention through a blocked basement window. I'm grateful the boy was found and reunited with his family. Paul was arrested, and, given the severity of his crime, he's not getting out anytime soon. One weekend I was home alone, and my girlfriend Jenny came over. It was December, and we were in full holiday mode. Christmas movies, wine, and snacks. When we ran out of wine, I popped to the liquor store, which was a short walk away. Halfway home, Jenny called, sounding worried. She said she thought she'd heard noises coming from the crawl space beneath the house. When I got home, I stayed on the phone with her. We heard a distinct thud from below. I grabbed a flashlight, climbed into the crawl space, and did a quick sweep. It smelled like urine down there, and I couldn't find anything obvious. Later we slept, but around midnight I woke up with a headache and had to use the bathroom. I left my bedroom door and looked out into the dark hallway. At the end of it, I saw a silhouette. I closed my door quietly and locked it. Someone walked down the hallway and tried the doorknob. A deep voice said, "Hello?" Jenny woke up, heard it too, and screamed. Then the footsteps moved away and the intruder left. When the police arrived, there was no one to be found. The crawl space smelled foul, and there was a puddle of urine on the floor. Proof something or someone had been down there. My family was skeptical at first, but after that night, I never forgot to lock our doors.